Hello, my name is May Ennis, and I'm one of the mid-level candidates for the LeadLA program, and here are my answers to the short questions. The first question was taking a look and observing the teaching video for sixth grade math, and it asked, what did I notice? What are some of the strengths and areas that I found for growth, and what feedback I would give to the teacher? I like that the focus of the lesson was explicitly stated by the teacher, which was the lesson for classifying triangles. I appreciated that she wanted to review the concept before actually delving into the actual lesson itself, which was to be looking at reviewing angles. I appreciated and really saw that the teacher utilized visuals when they were taking notes, that she was also copying what the students were doing, and that she was utilizing their prior knowledge in a way that was different. So instead of just a kind of call and response and raising their hand, the students were doing a kinesthetic type of learning or a whole body type of learning by utilizing the string. I appreciated that she had accountability where she explicitly stated for the students to be able to check their neighbors, and that she was very direct in her instructions. So when she asked the students to show me the smallest type of angle and using movement and a visual to be able to show their answers. I also appreciated that after she had the students do the task independently, that she had the students also check their neighbor. When it was looking at the observation and for areas of growth, I appreciated the differentiation in the method and utilizing an engaging activity. I would have recommended perhaps a better way to monitor student performance by walking around the room to check for understanding as opposed to remaining stagnant in the front of the classroom. I think it would have given the teacher a better idea to see perhaps which students were mimicking their other partners or if they were actually engaging in the activity and they knew what to do or realize what classifying angles were. I also would have liked to see students teach it to each other. I think because the review that they were going over was utilizing prior knowledge, that they would explain their understanding to their peers instead of a call and response between the teacher and student. I think for an area of growth, providing the students with more opportunities for participation and practice for vocabulary for the math would have been a heightened way for the students to engage in the review before actually starting the lessons for classifying triangles. The second question for the short answer was, tell me about the most important initiative you have successfully led at your school, and how did you know it was successful? I think the most successful initiative that I successfully led on the current campus that I'm at is the expansion of the special education department and the in-class support program. When I first started at my campus 5 years ago, there were only 2 in-class support teachers, and each teacher followed one set of students to all their academic classes for the day, which meant that they would teach language arts, math, social studies, and science for the 25 to 30 kids that were in that classroom. While it provided a very consistent presence within the classroom, I saw for myself, because I was hired to be one of those teachers, that the in-class support program needed major improvements, not necessarily for the teacher themselves, but I think it needed improvements to reach the most amount of students and to be successful for student achievement. And it was through, teacher input, student input, data collection, and research, as well as support from our campus administration, district support, and regional support, that we have been able to expand that in-class support program on our campus from 2 to the whole school to 2 teachers per grade. So basically 4 teachers on the campus, with 1 teacher explicitly doing language arts and 1 teacher addressing math in 3 different hallways. Um, our data improved for our student population of not only the special education students, but the students, the general education students who are in those co-teach classrooms, and because the teachers were able to take part in the PLC process. So teachers were being able to collaborate and work on instruction, looking at data in order for them to make student achievement for everybody in the classroom. And it impacted in a way that was successful because we were able to get the regional education service for our district out to conduct research and provide feedback for the program in its early stages. That same region then asked us a year later to attend a conference and to discuss our program's success to different teachers around the district for a 2-day conference. So I was able to go out to one of our region conferences during the summer and tell them about how our program became successful. Another way I knew that was successful was that our district asked our campus to present to the special education teachers within the district. but also to present how we were able to get the process rolling to all the principals in the district during a district principal meeting and to all the assistant principals at the district. And so we also had teachers after those kinds of meetings and those kind of teach-ins, teachers came to visit our campus to see the in-class support in action. So I knew it was successful not only because other people were looking at our campus and asking for that support, but we really saw it within the change in our students in terms of data for instruction, how they behaved better, and in terms of attendance, just because of that second support in those classrooms throughout the school for the different grade levels. The third question was, how do you plan instruction and how do you currently use data to drive instruction? As a special education co-teacher, data drives everything that I do. But in terms of planning instruction, our campus has been very collaborative in the way of planning instruction because we utilize the PLC process, or the professional learning community process. We, as a grade level, meet 3 times a week. And our professional learning committee for the past couple of years that I've been a part of was the 6th grade language arts team, where we meet to discuss planning for writing and planning for language arts. We utilize data to drive instruction, and we focus on areas of improvement based on what standards need to be improved by looking at the data, whether it's a formative assessment or a summative assessment. We look at how our small groups are performing. We look at what lessons were being done, our teaching practices, and misconceptions that students may have based on how we've taught it and how we've assessed them and how we can make adjustments before moving on to other standards. And our data for all the teachers drive our small groups and our guided reading lessons that we have in the classroom. After we meet as a whole department every week, I then meet with each of my 3 co-teachers to adjust the lessons and groups that we will be working for towards the week. So in my case, particularly with my 3 co-teachers, I bring in methods of differentiation and scaffolded support that would help work in the 3 different classrooms. Because they are 3 different classrooms with 3 different teachers, with 3 different sets of students, the accommodations that are made and adjustments made to the lesson plans will vary depending on which students need support that week and the type of lesson that is being brought in. And again, it's the data that drives everything that we do when it comes to addressing the students, how we're going to do the instruction, and which teacher is responsible for what aspect of the lesson. The next question is, what is the hardest feedback you've ever received? How did you implement it? What is the area you feel you still need to work on or learn more about? I think that the hardest feedback I ever received when was I previously applied for administrative positions, and a lot of the reasons why I was getting turned down was because I kept reverting back to my experience and that it was too special education heavy. I implemented that feedback by becoming more involved in other spaces on campus and actively seeking out opportunities through my administration on campus. And I would ask them, hey, if there's something new that you think would be beneficial to my growth, please invite me. So going out to the bilingual parent night, participating more in community activities, was ways that I learned how to be more open and more involved in other areas that wasn't just special education specific. I also currently utilize spaces that I was already in to open up myself more and learn more, such as being the team lead for the PBIS committee, where we would focus on positive behavior interventions and supports for the whole campus, and really utilizing my knowledge of special education resources and special education techniques and utilizing that in the general education classroom and different environments on campus. Being a co-teacher, I also realized that, I was in the general education classroom. I participate in the PLC process just like other gen ed teachers, and that gave me more perspective and the realization that although my job title was a special education teacher, that I worked with all students toward their success, and I worked with all people on campus for the success for the students. I also realized that I did have the experience of a well-rounded leader on campus, so that the work has been done to make a positive impact on the students, and that I needed to promote that more whenever I was interviewing or discussing why it would be a good fit for a certain campus. While I have worked in all those subject areas with instruction, I still believe that I have so much to learn, whether it's, instructional strategies, better understanding to help me support teachers, and being able to navigate the different systems on campus or a district and make improvements for student success. The next question was, what in your opinion are the key ingredients in guiding and maintaining successful relationships with parents and teachers? Give examples of how you have made this work in the past. I think for both teachers and for parents, the key ingredients to guiding and maintaining successful relationships is clear and consistent communication and high expectations. In the past in California, I was an SDC teacher for 5 years. And with the campus that I was on, I was able to cycle up with my sixth graders so that I would have them for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade for all 3 years. So I set up various ways for parents and I to communicate, whether it was through phone calls, through text, and technology. So I had Class Dojo to be able to talk to them about behavior. I had Remind as an app so that I could text them about homework. And I also had a classroom website where I would put up the lessons. I would have PDF of the work that was missed and a comment section where they would be able to get a hold of me. And because of that, parents were not surprised about grades or behavior issues in my classroom because I made it clear from the very first day with a phone call home, a letter home, what my expectations were for the students, and that I would consistently communicate both the positive and the areas of growth for their students in all aspects of their educational time with me for those 3 years. I would even practice my Spanish with the parents so that they felt comfortable communicating with me. And I would tell them from the beginning, I can understand Spanish pretty well. While it's difficult for me to talk, I still want to practice. So parents would feel comfortable after the year or so practicing their English with me. And I spoke to them in Spanish so that we could come to a consensus that, this is what's best for the student. So that by the time they had their end of time ended with me, the students, we had a really good relationship that went past the 3 years, and that they would still contact me in high school for the students to see what I could do to help their students be successful. This is the same approach that I've had with teachers. And being a co-teacher for the past 5 years in Texas, I've had to continually communicate with teachers and service providers throughout the day to ensure that everybody's on the same page for student success. And again, from the beginning, we set expectations, we have a conversation, and those expectations do not waver. And the amount of check-in and communication that I have with teachers is dependent on the amount of support that is needed from me, whether it's a check-in or a type of communication on a daily or weekly basis. I think the fact that I make myself available in various methods in different ways and that I adjust my approach to the specific person or the specific issue has really helped develop and maintain those relationships past what is necessary. And for the last question, who are you currently responsible for coaching and managing? Tell me about the highest performing teacher and the lowest performing teacher that you coach or manage. And if we ask them, what would they say about your coaching or managing? I currently manage 2 groups on campus. I manage a special education department, which has 12 teachers and 10 paraprofessionals. And the second group I manage is the Foundations Committee, which is responsible for the positive behavior interventions and supports that include administrators and teachers from both grade levels, all subject areas, and different programs on our campus. The highest teacher that I manage has more teaching experience in the classroom than I do, with about 20 years experience. Their scores always show improvement, and they are also a big presence on campus. And the lowest performing teacher I manage struggles with instructional strategies and content mastery. But I believe that despite the differences in performance and how they are doing as teachers, I think both teachers would say that my management style is very flexible, depending on the situation and circumstances, but that I hold that same and high expectations for each teacher. The how and how I approach the situation is going to be different each time, but that I make myself available anytime that help is needed. So I think the fact that I have flexibility, that I am very good at communicating, and that I have consistent communication, and that I hold a certain expectation for the people that I manage to meet does not waver just because they're higher or lower performing than others. Thank you.